Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. I'd like to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. They're an online therapy company. They are international. They are throughout the world. If you need to get to a really good therapist, go to BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. Fill out some questions and they'll set you up with a master's level or PhD level therapist. And I've been getting good feedback. People seem to like them. This makes me happy. They are available to do chats. If you want to do chat therapy, they are available to do video therapy. It's all good. Thank you. BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. Okay, let's dive into the questions. All right, Chris, can you make a video addressing binge eating, how narcissistic abuse causes it, and how we can heal? Okay, yes, I can do that. I've done a couple of them in the years past, but I will do another one. So I think I'll name it Our Relationship with Food. I think that's the best way to put it, because when we're raised by abusive parents, we have a very strange relationship with food. And yes, we do binge eat. It can also lead to, eating disorders, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, I will talk about that. They do use food to control. Absolutely. And we do have a very dysfunctional relationship with food when we come out of an abusive relationship. So especially family of origin. So let me, I'm going to title that, Our Relationship with Food. I think that would be a good one. That will probably be in either April or May, possibly June, because I've got some stuff coming up. So I'll figure out when to put it in, but yes, it's in the pipeline. We will do that. In the meanwhile, you can go onto my YouTube channel and just look for the ones that I've done in the past. So there is that. Okay. Let's see. How is it possible that my narcissist mother was raised by my grandparents who were really such lovely people? Okay, so here's the deal. My abusive dad was raised by my grandparents, and my grandmother was wonderful. I loved her. So Momo and I got along really well. She was my favorite, and I was her favorite. And she and I really, really loved each other. How she could have given birth to my dad is beyond me. It really is. So here we come back to the eternal question. Is it nature or is it nurture? Or is it like a combination, some from column A, a little from column B? There you go. So basically, nature sets us up. It gives us our basic personality, our strengths, our weaknesses, et cetera, et cetera. Nature does. Nurture then, either if we have crazy parents, pushes us over the edge or holds us back. So some people, in psychopathy, there's two types. There is their brains are different type. I think that's type 1. And then type 2 is type 1 is they're created, and type 2, it's their brains. Unless I switch those up. It's very possible I switched those up. Anyway, one of them is that their brain structure is just different. The other one is, no, they were created. Kind of like Dexter. I don't know if you ever watched Dexter when it was on, but so that was a whole thing. Like, he was made, he wasn't born, blah blah, whatever. So there is that. So, and plus the fact we don't know how they were raising those people. I mean, people change. They really do. Some people change as they get older. They mellow the hell out. If they're even the least bit sane. If they're not sane, they get worse. So, and they do treat grandkids differently. They do, hard to say. Nature, nurture, the eternal question. I don't know. Because I loved my grandmother. Everybody loved my grandmother. It's like, she was great. She was a good grandma, but then she raised my dad, who was an abusive POS. So go figure, nature, nurture, who knows? Okay. When looking for a therapist, what are some things that we need to ask or look for to heal from trauma? Okay, I've done several videos on what to ask your therapist, how to find a good therapist, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So just basically to recap, in looking for a good therapist, You want to interview them as much as they kind of interview you. If somebody just takes you on without even talking to you, that's kind of a red flag, because that says that they don't care who they take on as a client. When I take on clients, I always say, hey, let's call me and we'll do a little chat so I make sure I'm the right therapist. Because sometimes it turns out I'm not the right therapist. Sometimes it turns out they're looking for family therapy and I don't do family therapy. Or they're looking for couples counseling and I don't do couples counseling. Or they want somebody who knows EMDR. I don't do MDR. I do CBT. So when I am talking to a client, a potential client, I always say, do you have any questions that you want to ask me? And unfortunately, 9 times out of 10, they're like, no, because they don't know what to ask. So you kind of want to know what their modality is. So when I first help somebody, when somebody calls me up and is like, hey, I'm looking into getting therapy. How do I go about this? I've never done this before. I tell them, okay, let's chat for a little bit. Let me tell you a little bit about what I do and how I do it so that you'll understand what to expect, kind of thing, because people don't know. The only experience people have in counseling is watching it through television and movies. And that is so far from reality. It's not even, oh my God. If I see one more freaking movie where they break the ethical boundaries and have a relationship with their client, you will hear me scream. You will. I will stand up in the movie theater and scream. I get so tired of that. I really do. It's because it's just unrealistic. You just don't do that. That is a taboo. You don't do that. Power differential. You don't do that. So what I do is when somebody calls me up and they're like, hey, I'm interested in therapy, I go, okay, well, let me tell you a little bit about what I do. I do CBT. CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy. So I work on mistaken thoughts, mistaken beliefs. What are you telling yourself? How do you feel when you tell yourself that? And how to change those maladaptive thoughts and feelings and beliefs into healthy thoughts and feelings and beliefs and things that you tell yourself. I use a lot of humor. I tend to swear like a sailor. So if you don't like swearing, let me know and I'll try not to drop the F-bomb so much. Some people don't. Some people don't like swearing, so I will consciously try not to swear. I do swear a lot. So, but most of the time they're okay with that. And then I let them know. It's like my sessions are 45 minutes long. I do not do in person. I only do video or phone. I don't take insurance. I do a sliding scale. You have to be a resident of Arizona. That whole thing, I explain that to them because I get people calling me from outside the country and inside the country, and they don't understand the state laws, unfortunately. And unfortunately, the state laws are that you can only practice in your state. So it's dumb. Unless there's states that have compacts or they're okay with it, or, it's crazy. I don't understand why we don't have a national licensure given the nature of our society where everybody is fluid and moving and doing this and doing that, especially here in Arizona. We've got all the snowbirds come in for 6 months and leave for 6 months. So it's the dumbest thing ever. Anyway, ACA is trying to work on it. They're trying to get compacts between states, which would be nice. So, and then of course you've got the idiots in the state legislature here in Arizona just desperately trying very hard to get rid of the board. And I'm just like, the board is there to protect the people. Guys, there are some pretty unethical practitioners out there. If you ever go on to the board's website and you look up what they get in trouble for, 9 times out of 10, it's having a relationship with the client or borrowing money from the client or other ethical issues. I'm just like, how did you even get your license? Don't get me started. Anyway, so sorry, total tangent. Went off on that. So the questions, and then I say, well, do you have any questions? And usually they'll be like, well, where did you get your license? Well, I got it. I got my master's degree from University of Phoenix. And then I interned at the homeless shelter in downtown Phoenix. And then I started my own private practice. And, I've written 3 books and, things like that, and you answer whatever questions they have as long as they are appropriate, And so questions that you want to ask to get a good trauma therapist is, what is your experience with trauma? Now, here's something that I have seen that really annoys me, is that some therapists will go, oh yes, I'm if you look at their profile, like on like Psychology Today or whatever, and if they are an expert in every single field, don't use them. Because really, good therapists specialize. They do, just like good doctors specialize. You know, you can, I mean, I'm not saying GPs are bad. It's nice to know a little of everything. But it's like you can't possibly be an expert in every single field. And so a lot of therapists put up, oh, they do this and 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 this because they're hoping to get clients. That's basically what it is. So my thing is I like individual therapy. I don't do couples. I don't do family. I work with individuals. And my specialty is helping people get the hell out of abusive relationships. So, you know, that's kind of what I'm known for. So you want to ask them things like, okay, what's your modality? And then have them explain that modality. So my modality is CBT, working on mistaken thoughts, mistaken beliefs, changing the thought patterns. Where did you get your degree from? Okay, University of Phoenix. What's your experience in trauma? How long have you been working in trauma? Where did you learn about it? Well, unfortunately, mine was learned firsthand because I came from a very abusive family. I've written 3 books on it if you care to look at them. So again, I'm giving the client resources and I'm letting them know I'm an expert in what I'm doing. I know what I'm talking about. So, you know, that's what you do. And those are the questions you ask. It's like, where did you get your training? Okay, I've gone to every single continuing education unit training I could possibly get in trauma. I read everything from Bessel van der Kolk. I talk with other therapists. This is what I do. This is how I get to where I am. So any therapist who gets snarky with you, oh my God, I've heard of this too. Like the client starts asking questions and the therapist gets all huffy. Like you should know or trust them. Look, you don't know them from Adam. You don't. You need to ask questions to make sure that you guys are a good fit. Like I said, some people don't like how blunt I am. I'm very straightforward. I'm not going to sit there and let people play victim for more than maybe 2 sessions. And then I'm going to be like, okay, you've told me the same story twice now. What do we want to do about it? How are we moving forward? How are we growing? Because if I just let you sit here and tell your story, you're not going to grow. So some people don't like that. Some people want to tell her story over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And then they fire the therapist because they don't go anywhere forward. Go figure. Anyway, so you ask questions. You ask, well, how do you do questions? How do you, how do you do therapy? What is your expectation? And I tell people point blank, it's like, look, I assign homework assignments. I do. I absolutely assign homework assignments. I'm going to have reading assignments for you. I'm going to have workbook assignments for you. I expect them to be done. And if they're not being done, we're going to investigate that. So what is stopping you from doing the homework assignments? What is the fear? What is stopping you? So yeah, I'm very pushy that way. I like to push people forward. That is the whole point of therapy. It is not to just sit there and lie on a couch for 25 years. Woe is me. No. What are you going to do? All right. This crap happened to you. What do we do now? How do we make your life better? That's the kind of therapy I do. So you ask them, it's like, how do you do therapy? What is your, what is your personality? What is your, how do you envision therapy? So basically that's what I tell them. It's like, look, I'm not a therapist that's going to sit there and go, oh, that'll be $350. No, I'm going to be like, okay, can you afford my base fee of $150? Can you afford it? You can't? Great. What can you afford? Great. You can afford that much? Great. Let's do that. Because I'm more interested in people getting help than not getting help. Not every therapist is. Not every therapist. A lot of therapists out there, man, they are not in it for the right reasons. So if somebody's in it to aggrandize themselves or to become wealthy, they're not in it for the right reasons. So ask about a sliding scale. Don't be afraid to ask. They may be able to do it. Now, insurance companies, who I don't like, the reason I don't take insurance is that if I took insurance, I would be unable to take cash pay clients because they would consider that insurance fraud. Yeah, because they don't want the competition. And in my opinion, it's like, cut out the middleman. Let's just go with a cash pay client and let them decide what they can afford. There you go. So now, of course, I always tell people too, because you'll get the occasional therapist that is, or client that is, interested in ripping people off, basically. So, they'll be like, oh, I'm so poor, I don't have any money, blah, 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 blah. And then they start talking about their second house and their yacht and all the vacations they take and things like that. And I call them out on it. I do. It's like, you said you were having financial difficulties, and yet you're telling me this, you're telling me this, you're telling me this, you're telling me this. So how much can you really afford? Because my time is valuable. It is. You're paying for my education, you're paying for my knowledge, you're paying for my attention, you're paying to get help. And your time is valuable. So don't rip off your therapist. It's like, if they're offering a sliding scale, be reasonable, is all I'm saying. So, but do ask about a sliding scale. Do see if they do a sliding scale. If they do, then they'll be willing to work with you. I mean, seriously, I have clients that pay as little as $10 because that's all they can afford. And you never want to do it for free, okay? I mean, there are the occasional special cases that I will take for free. If there's like abuse going on and the husband is withholding money and, they absolutely cannot even afford $5, great, I will take them on. So, but if you just give away your services, they're not as valued. It's stupid. It really is. What I would love is to win the lottery and to be able to do this without having to worry about making money. That would be great. And then I could own a B&B somewhere and make breakfast for people and, it'd be great. Anyway, sorry, went off on a tangent. So the questions you want to ask, what are the modalities? How much do they charge? Do they do a sliding scale? Kind of what is expected. Sessions are 45 minutes long. I end around 40, 45. I do, so that I can schedule the next appointment. And then I have 15 minutes to run to the bathroom, do my paperwork, come back, take the next client. So, you let them know that. So, and also you let them know the expectations. It's like, I expect you to do the homework. I do. And if you don't, I'm not just going to sit here and listen to you complain. It's lovely that you're paying me to listen to you complain. I'm here to move you forward. So we both better be on the same page. So, there it is. Seriously, because there are some clients that will do that just want to complain and not grow. And that's not who I am as a therapist. And that shouldn't be a therapist you put up with. So you want to continue to grow. You want to continue to move forward. So anyway, so those are the kind of the questions that you want to ask. So I've done several videos on questions to ask therapists. What is your experience in trauma? How long have you been doing this? How do you help people? How does what makes you different from every other therapist, basically? So, you let them know. It's like, for me, personal experience, and I've written 3 books on it, almost 4 now. So anyway, so there's that. So I hope that answers the question. You want to know what their modality is? CBT doesn't work for everybody. Some people need DBT, dialectic behavioral therapy. EMDR is great for trauma. So maybe you need an EMDR therapist instead of a CBT therapist. Tapping, EFT, that's another great modality. So ask them what their modality is. Ask them where they got their experience with trauma, how much they know about it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Recently, I dealt with an incoming client whose previous therapist didn't even understand narcissistic abuse, which to me, again, we talked about this on Sunday. I am so angry at our educational system right now. I could spit nails. It's like, if you're churning out therapists that don't understand domestic violence, that don't understand intimate partner violence, that don't get narcissists, that don't get the CPTSD, you shouldn't be churning out therapists, period. It does a disservice to the public. It does. So, yeah, ask them if they understand CPTSD. Have they read Pete Walker's book? Do they understand narcissistic abuse? Do they get what it does to a person? Do they know what gaslighting is? Not every therapist gets it. They don't. So ask. Don't be afraid to ask. And if a therapist gets snarky about it, don't go to them. Find somebody else. So anyway, that's it. All right. You guys have a great week. And then on Sunday, we are going to be talking about chaos and drama and why. Why do they do chaos and drama? Why? What is up with that? and how we can learn to live without it. Because that becomes the normal for us, is the chaos and drama. So we don't want that to be the normal. What we want to be the normal is the peace and the serene. So we're going to work on that. All right, guys. You guys have a great week, and I will talk to you later. Bye.